We're a little bit early. Hi, we've got 5 viewers.
No, there's a few people watching.
Hang on, we've got 13.
Not ready for this.
Hang on, I'm not prepared. This is all happening too fast. Hi all. You'll probably hear me say this in a few times, but thanks tomorrow we're live. Good. We've never done this before, so bear with us. We're going to do the best we can. We thought we'd jump on a little bit early and just try and fix any...
Iron out any bugs,
but the bugs seem to be ironed out and we seem to be ready to go. And, we thought just in case there were bugs that we would pop some Prosecco. I can't even... It's all back to front. I can't even... just because it's Friday and I really need this.
Yeah, just warning there's one volatile mother and 3 noisy kids out there. So in this hour, anything can happen. Like it's the homeschooling has taken it out of Rebecca. I've been lucky enough that I can go to work and get out of here.
Yep.
But she's been cooped up and she is done.
I'm done. Thank you. You're on. Thanks, John. You'll be fine, Rebecca. Thanks, Sarah. 5 Prosecco helps. How many Proseccos have I had? 2 sips. But I'm pretty excited because it's Friday and homeschooling's finished and it's happy hour. So bring it on. Cheers. Who else has got
anything
going on? Who else has got happy hour happening at the moment?
Even a beer.
It's whatever works, really. And who else has been homeschooling this week? Has anyone else been doing that? And so just, struggling a little.
Yeah, I haven't had the pleasure of not being able to witness it. So, yeah.
Oh, look, they're doing okay. Like, I can't complain. They're doing the best they can. We're all doing the best they can, and the girls are like they're trying. They're trying really hard. It's just a whole new world of.
Yeah, probably better that you're doing it than me. I'd be a pretty iron-fisted regime, I think.
It would be. Although they'd still learn. It would just be a very different...
Damn straight they would.
So cheers to everybody who is joining us. Oh, we've got 47. Oh my God, there's so many people. So for all the people who have just joined us, welcome to our happy hour, our very first Facebook Live happy hour. We've never done this before, so just bear with us.
Yeah, winemakers don't tend to be very tech savvy, so yeah.
It's taken a little bit for us to try and set up, but the guys that make the wines have been amazing, and here we are drinking Prosecco. We probably should start with something else, though. I mean, it's almost 4 o'clock.
About 4 o'clock, we'll get going with the other one.
The tally's still going up with people who are watching. Hi to everyone new who's just joined us. Please feel free to chat. It's kind of, I was going to say, for anyone who knows Adrian, talking incessantly is not something he does that comes naturally. No. It's pretty natural to me, really. So it's probably actually going to be a lot of me talking.
I just make little side comments. That's about it.
He does, and then kind of smokes to himself and kind of happy with his
I entertain myself.
Himself.
Yeah.
Whereas I tend to just chatter on incessantly. So, yes, it might just be a lot of me talking, or it might just be a lot of awkward silence because we've never done this before and we're not really sure how to just keep talking. Who am I kidding? I know how to do it. I'll be fine. But please comment, send us some questions if you've got any questions, or if you just want to join in the chat, that would be lovely to have a bit of a two-way conversation going on, I think.
Sure.
Sure. Whatever, just drink.
Did you want to
I think
say a few things about
so I don't know.
The year we've had?
Yeah, the year we've had. So I guess we'll get started.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how many. Hands up, give me some thumbs if you saw the post I wrote earlier this week. It was a bit of a long-winded one, but it was a post that I've been sitting on for a little while. I hadn't really spoken to you guys for a while. They're just... honestly, the last 4 to now sort of more 6 months have just been so, I think turbulent was the word I used. And my head had just been spinning and I didn't want to just sit down and write any old thing. I wanted it to really sort of articulate what had been going through and what it's been like for us, and give a little bit of an insight into, I guess, the agriculture industry and the wineries in general, winemaking industry in general.
Yeah, just our life in the past 6 months, I guess.
In the past 6 months, and it's just been crazy. I mean, we've been, as you know, end of last year, there was, we got hit with some hail early on, and there was bushfires. There was, and then from that, a lot of wineries weren't able to. Obviously,
from the resulting bushfires, there was a lot of smoke taint, which sort of rendered a lot of crops useless. So there's a lot of wineries out there, especially smaller ones, that didn't have a crush at all this year, which would have made an enormous financial impact. And then following on, with the sort of coronavirus shutdown of a lot of hospitality with restaurants and bars and cafes, that's hit a lot of smaller guys as well, and making a massive impact on a lot of those small businesses. And the longer this goes on, the more and more of those little businesses, whether they be hospitality businesses or small winemakers, the less of those you may see pop up again. So it's kind of tough times, interesting times, but we're in a very fortunate position that we've got all this wonderful group that is Naked Wines that supports us and is online. So we're very fortunate that we're already in this sort of part of the online world. We haven't had to step into it right away to change our business. We've been part of Naked Wines for a while, and it's made a solid base for us, and we've been able to survive through this time, and it's purely because of Naked Wines.
And that, like I said in my post, I think there's all these external factors going on that are completely out of our control, and there's a lot of you, and I really wanted to touch on that in that post, was that, I mean, this is just a perspective of us and what we've been through, but we completely understand there's a lot of you out there that have we're all going through tough times. This isn't just us, this is you guys as well, and there's a lot of local small businesses that we deal with really closely that have shut up shop and or have had to drastically change their whole business model under severe restrictions just to stay afloat during this time. And so it's all really worrying. And then I think I posted this on the side as well, try and get the glare, but these sort of news articles are now starting to pop up in my inbox, and look, with everything that's been going on with the low yields, like Adrian said, some of the growers, the yields were so low that they didn't even bother picking because the costs to pick
just outweighed
any
the profit.
So with all of this, the hail, the bushfire, the smoke taint, the record heat spike days, and now coronavirus, if we weren't with Naked, those sort of headlines would certainly be playing on our mind a lot right now, and things could be really quite difficult for us. So like I said in my post, we're feeling strangely calm about it, and it's purely because we have you guys backing us, and we really, we've always been grateful, but right now we are so incredibly grateful for that, because I don't know how we would be,
I guess
where we'd be without it.
The silver lining out of things like this is that you do see a lot of people in your not only online communities and local communities really working together and coming together as one, and that's something that won't be forgotten at all. Like it's
no,
very
I think
important
it definitely
to
strengthen relationship at this stage. And the support that I got from that post and the comments that we got from that post was really beautiful, lovely, just really supportive. And it was lovely. I really appreciate you all jumping on there and commenting and just giving us that support. It's really appreciated. And cheers to you guys.
That's mine.
Cheers to you guys. All right, so let's get started on the wines that we said we'd talk through. We're going to open up a Carmenere. Oh, no, sorry, Chardonnay, not Carmenere. We'll do that later. So we're going to open up our 2019 first up, Family Reserve Chardonnay. I don't know if you can see that. How many of you, give me a thumbs up on the comments thing, whatever you do. Have got this, have tried it. Tell me what you think. I'll keep it still so you can see what it is. So our family reserve wines are wines that we release once a year. We make tiny little batches of them, about 250 cases of our Chardonnay and 250 cases of our Pinot. They are purely and genuinely handcrafted. Do you want to sort of go into that process a little bit?
So the grapes, they're grown by a grower not too far from where not only where we live, but also where we work. And they're hand-picked, come into the winery, and basically it's myself and Rebecca that go through every single facet of the process with these grapes. So, with this Chardonnay, for example, goes into the press, whole bunch pressed. So that gives you some really lovely, good quality free-run juice, and basically straight into barrel after that. So a mixture of older and new barrels. The new barrels give you the lovely sort of toasty oak component, and the older barrels just sort of give you a bit more complexity rather than it just being in stainless steel. And so there's a blend of those. So you don't want an overly oaky wine, so that's why you use some of the older barrels. Mm-hmm. Wild fermentation, so it's a natural yeast that's on the skins of the grapes. They ferment. Yeah, we don't add any yeast to the Chardonnay, and we believe that.
Excuse me. Sorry.
someone's at the door. We sort of believe that those yeasts show the character of the wines and the vineyards and the variety a lot better than inoculating with a cultured yeast. So I think it's just something that makes the wine more complex and more true to style, and brings out the
cartridge delivery. My printer cartridges are up. Sorry.
and it just certainly helps with producing a quality wine. And then basically it just stays in barrel for 9 months. Don't do too much to it, and it stays on all its lees and solids. And once again, they provide some lovely texture and flavour and complexity, and then a really light filtration into bottle. So it's really a hands-off style of a wine. And really, as a winemaker, when you're making quality wines, all you want to do is intervene only when you have to. Like, less is more when it comes to this. And
this is really about finding amazing fruit and just guiding it through the winery.
Yeah.
We don't want to add anything. We don't want to take anything away. We just want to take what we've got and put it into a bottle. That's really the process. So we go through with the Chardonnay, but also our Pinot Noir, the family reserve Pinot Noir, which we'll taste next. So look, I don't know how many of you have tried this or have it in your glass now.
And so, look, a lot of people probably say every year, they'll probably say it was the best vintage ever. It's something, like in the Burgundy region of France, they'll have hail and rain, and there'll be rot coming out of every orifice of the grape bunch, and they'll be saying, yeah, best vintage ever. And, it's just something that a lot of winemakers say, but I'm going to say it.
So we're going to say it too.
So it's probably the best best Chardonnay that we've made for Naked Wines.
19 was good.
Yeah, it was a nice warm year without being too hot. So you've got some lovely ripe characters, but at the same time, Yarra Valley Chardonnay has that lovely sort of minerality about it, nice sort of acid line. And
some really interesting complex kind of nutty, hazelnutty kind of.
Yeah, there's I think hazelnut or even sort of Brazil nut is another typical character of Yarra Valley Chardonnay, and I think the oak is it's certainly there, but it's well balanced. It plays a good supporting role without being dominant, and that's the main thing. We want a lot of different characters without anything being overly dominant and hiding the other characters. So it ends up being a wine that we're pretty happy with. At the end, I tend to be very critical of everything that I make, and sort of taste it and go, I'll do this next year. But this ended up being pretty good.
And this one is currently available on Naked Wines Australia, and we have literally just put some stock on a ship this week to head to the UK. So there will be some in the UK as well with this one, the Chardonnay and the Pinot Noir.
probably, how long does that take? About 2 months?
Yeah, by the time it gets onto
the
the
UK?
site, yeah, it'll be 6 weeks, and then by the time it gets through customs and things. So, yeah, probably another couple of months the UK will be seeing this. So make sure, guys, UK guys, if you're watching this now or even later, you see this on the site, grab it because, yeah, limited stock. We don't make much. Released once a year, generally in Feb, March. And then that's it. Once it sells out, it's
gone.
Yarra Valley Chardonnay in general.
I think the good thing about Yarra Valley Chardonnay is it kind of led the way for Australian Chardonnay over that time where everyone was sort of saying anything but Chardonnay, where people didn't want to drink Chardonnay. Yarra Valley Chardonnay, actually, their sales was actually increasing over that time, and it was certainly a major driving force of bringing it back into fashion. So
I think a lot in that time, a lot of the Chardonnays were really oaky, really buttery, and they were really cool in the 90s. And then there was this sort of swing against that ABC movement and the anything but Chardonnay movement, and then everyone kind of went off it. But yeah, like you said, Yarra Chardonnay has, was that really sort of mineral, lean, good acid. So it was really quite fresh, and it was very different to those styles.
Yeah, it's still quite obviously a Chardonnay, but it wasn't those really big oaky, male-y, buttery, and anything that sort of tastes fat and oily. I saw the word that I use is blousy, and it wasn't one of those. It's not one of those wines, and they're always very refined and elegant, even if they are a little riper or leaner. I think we're fortunate that we're in the region that we are. It's along with Pinot, it's the main varieties grown in the area because they do grow so well, and they hence are the sort of biggest selling wines in the area as well, because they, compared to wines from other regions, these wines really do stand out. So I'm not a Victorian originally, so I'm not just saying that because I'm from Victoria or I'm here. We moved here for this reason.
Originally from New South Wales, so the rugby versus the AFL is any chance to sort of have a go at the Victorians, he will. So the fact that he's saying this is clear that he thinks quite highly of the region. All right, so should we move on to the Pinot? Just if anyone has any questions about the Chardonnay, or anything we're saying, just like I said, type away. I'm just going to have another sip that I wanted to get out because it's Friday and I really need this.
Yeah, some lovely oak sweetness on that as well. So I think it's probably one of the sort of riper and more sort of complex styles that we've produced for Naked Wines, and hopefully you guys enjoy that.
Enjoy it. Well, so like we said, it isn't that big, buttery, malo-y, oaky style. So if that is the style you enjoy, you're probably not going to enjoy this one. But if you are after or enjoy Chardonnays that have that sort of leanness, the mineral.
No, I think they still. I think it's kind of it's balanced. So
it's balanced, but it's
not. If you are after that really oaky style, it probably won't quite hit your.
I think if you like those oaky styles, like the warmer climate Chardonnays would probably be more where you head. I mean, it doesn't mean to say you won't enjoy a cool climate Chardonnay like this, but I think
we try and we've always been kind of instead of being either very ripe and the buttery style or the very lean and acidic style, we've always tried to be in that middle ground. And
well, really, at the end of the day, we make what we enjoy, because I think that's all you can do. So you're passionate about this. We make this, we drink this, we enjoy this. We're just being authentic. That word, I hate using that word, but we're making what we like and doing what we know how to do best. So that's sort of the family reserve in terms of what we do with Naked Wines. We've got our Boy Meets Girl range, and that is essentially a sort of entry level where it's easy drinking, it's good value, it's great value for money, and we drink those wines with our family and friends regularly. We love those wines, and they're easy drinking everyday wines. Then we've got our A&R range, which is what we'll try later. But our A&R range, our Adrian and Rebecca range, kind of so the next step in the story. So the boy met the girl, we became A&R. And that is a little bit more adventurous. So with our A&R range, we tend to be, we'll find grapes from different regions, or we'll find, put different blends together, or do just something a little bit quirky. We always like to sort of experiment a little bit with the A&R range. And then our family reserve range is sort of when we became a family, kind of represents the pyramid, is our very small batch, really small, premium,
it's just Chardonnay and Pinot, so it's our premium offering, and it's what there's no, as we said, it's what grows well in the region. It's what we,
there's no tricksy anything. It's just traditional winemaking, trying to keep it as natural and just find amazing fruit and just not mess it up. Essentially, a winery, just guide it right into bottle. Our Pinot, so this is our 2019 Pinot, which I think we've only recently released this on the site, but I have a feeling, and I should have checked before we went live, has sold out. So if...
All right.
Yeah.
What are we even talking about then?
I'm not sure. Well, the thing is...
Oh, that's the end of the show,
I think in saying that, maybe some of you have it and are tasting it with us tonight. Was the point, Adrian. For those of you who haven't, well, sorry, we'll remove that. UK guys, though, you guys in the UK, get onto it, because once it's released and once it's gone again, 250 cases, that's it, done, gone. And yeah, keep an eye for it in about 2 months. So the Pinot Noir 2019, Adrian, you talk it through. You're doing a great job talking, by the way. I'm not sure if I can talk this much.
I'll shut up then.
No, go on. Keep talking.
Yeah, so it's a very similar story to the Chardonnay, where we're trying to get the best quality fruit that we can from a vineyard that we know has got a good track record. Handpicked once more, goes into open pot fermenters. So it's basically a lot of it. There's a bit of it, whole bunch. So those actual bunches of grapes that have been picked, they just go straight in the fermenter, stems and all. And the stems give you this lovely sort of spicy character and add another layer of complexity. And then the rest of it gets destemmed. So that just goes through a destemmer, which knocks the berries off the stems, and we try and maintain those whole berries. So we try and set up that destemmer to be very gentle. There's no crushing. So those berries stay intact. And that gives you some lovely sort of red fruit characteristics, because the fermentation actually starts inside the berry before it actually breaks, and then that gives you a particular type of flavour, and that's the flavour that we're sort of after. And it gives you this lovely sort of light and fruity character. And then when we blend it all together, we've got the parcel that has the fruit, the parcel that's a little bit more dark and intense, and the parcel that has the spiciness. So and we're trying to just make a complete wine, and it's all really about that's my favorite time of the year is that blending stage, where you can look at all those different wines and come up with the blend that you think is the best. So once again, the fermentation is natural fermentation. So the yeast,
no yeast is added.
The yeast that are already on the skin of the grapes, they as I was saying before, bring out the flavors of that particular vineyard and variety in the region, because it's native to that site, and they just sort of enhance the flavors that come out of the variety and what you expect from that vineyard.
And give it a uniqueness, I think.
Yeah, if I used fruit from a different vineyard and made it exactly the same way, there'd be a massive difference in flavours, because those natural yeasts are very unique to each of those sites.
Which is what we did with the Ménage à Trois way back. For those of you
2015.
For those of you who have been with us since then, we did a little experiment. We were grateful enough to receive
a bit of funding from Naked Wines. Yeah. There was what is the winemaker fantasy competition?
Yeah, winemaker fantasy, that was it.
And
so we did a Ménage à Trois, and it was essentially fruit from 3 different vineyards. A nice little experiment that we wanted to show you and work with you. But fruit from 3 separate vineyards, all made exactly the same way, no yeast added. Why is it important?
Menage a trois. You just basically said we did a menage a trois. I'm like, yeah, cool.
I can see. I knew what that look on your face was. Cheeky. So we did do a menage a trois with wine. That doesn't make it sound any better, does it? And it did. There were 3 very different wines. There was one from the Macedon Ranges, one from the Lower Yarra, and one from the Upper Yarra. For those of you who don't know, the Yarra Valley is a region. Essentially is split into two sections, kind of sub-regions. Yeah. So the Upper Yarra has a high elevation, slightly cooler, slightly longer growing period, whereas the Lower Yarra, so the valley floor, and different soil, it's good that volcanic red loam soil up in the Upper Yarra, whereas the Lower Yarra, slightly
more clay sort of soils.
Clay-based soils. So look, fruit from the Upper Yarra and fruit from the Lower Yarra are, again, 2 very different wines. So we made them all the same way. Didn't add yeast. We just relied on the wild yeast from that vineyard, and
and so those wines are very different. That it wasn't only the difference in vineyard; they were from different regions as well. So there's all those little factors that make a big difference. So it's the soil, the climate, the region, the vineyard manager, even the winery. All those aspects make a very different wine.
Yeah.
So, but if you keep it very simple, you allow those flavors to shine, and then the good flavors to shine. Like if I inoculated this with if I got grapes from a whole bunch of different vineyards in the Yarra Valley and inoculated them with a cultured yeast that you buy, which we do in other wines.
Yeah.
You see a much more similar character between all those wines, because that one yeast really dominates and gives you a similar flavor across all those batches. So there is still the little differences, but you don't see them. They're not as pronounced as if you were using a wild yeast. So that's something that we really focus on. There is a little bit of a challenge in using letting your natural yeast be the actual thing that conducts fermentation. You need to watch that early onset of fermentation quite closely, because there is a chance of spoilage early on. But like Rebecca was saying, it's basically we're just guiding the grapes through the fermentation period, and that means just keep an eye on them and then making sure everything's happening and going right, and you only intervene when you need to.
And it's funny. So with these, when these are fermenting, we will still foot stomp the whole bunches, and we will still hand plunge daily the fruit while it's fermenting in the big open vats. And a lot of people are surprised by that. They think that's not done anymore, but with small batches like this, it's still the most gentlest way to extract colour and flavour from the berries. And so that's why we do it. So yes, it is more laborious. Yes, it takes a little bit longer, but again, it's just gently, particularly with Pinot Noir. Pinot can be particularly tricky to grow. It can be a little bit precious to make, but at the end of it, you can get it all right and just be gently all the way through. You come out with this incredibly subtle, and for me, this is what I think a good Pinot should be like. It's incredibly subtle but incredibly complex, and a little bit funky. Like, I love my Pinots to be a little bit funky and have a bit of earthiness and a bit of a earthiness kind of smell to them. I think that's for me, sign of a good Pinot. I don't know. What about you, Adrian? What do you think?
Look, I quite like the wines that show that little bit of a funky character, and by that, they don't just smell clean and fruity. They've got layers and layers of complexity, and when you first pour them, you don't get a lot of aroma. They might be a bit closed, and it might smell a bit weird. And then as it stays in your glass, or as you make your way through the bottle, those flavors and aromas change and just evolve, and then that's a sign of a really good quality wine, especially if you are enjoying the flavors. Sometimes sometimes those flavors and aromas, I hate to sound a bit punsy, but it takes you on a journey of where that wine has sort of come from. You get to really pick out the characters and when you get to sort of know sort of those individual characters, you can sort of say this wine's come from, it's this variety and it's this region, and you can even start picking out vineyards when you become really familiar with certain characteristics. But it certainly with the vintage, you can identify the weather conditions and the wines from the vintage because if there was a particularly cold year, there'll be one sort of flavour or character, and if there was a warmer year, the wines will have different characters. So as you're making your way through the wine and drinking it and you get all those aromas and flavours, it does take on a bit of a journey, and for, I don't know, for most winemakers probably it's a bit of a trip down memory lane about maybe how hectic vintage was sometimes. It's not always a pleasant memory. So it's sometimes it's a memory of a vintage you never want to remember again. But which is like 2016. I try not to drink any wine from 2016 because I don't want to remember it.
It was a pretty bad. Why was it bad, Adrian? Explain.
It was a very hot vintage. So every single grape variety ripened at the same time. So instead of vintage going for 12 weeks.
And you get sort of different varieties coming in at different stages. So
everything happened in 6 weeks. So if you think that, you've got to do 6 weeks, 12 weeks worth of work in 6 weeks.
And find somewhere to put it.
And so logistically, having, you need time to pick it, ferment it, have it in tank, and logistically in the winery, it becomes almost something that is impossible to do. And that was 2016. And because it's a very warm year, when everything is ripening and you've got to pick everything at the same time, you miss the ideal picking window. So you pick your best fruit at that optimum time, but the other varieties or other certain blocks of grapes, they may have been picked a couple of days later.
Hence, and that can make a huge difference.
They could be quite overripe, and you have that overripe flavour in the resulting wine. And I see a lot of that in 2016. And like I said, I tend to remember it. In a lot of regions in Australia, I tend to steer away from that because it just brings back nightmares.
I mean, it was like 14, 16-hour days. It was, for that 6 weeks. It was 7 days, 6 weeks. It was. We
had to basically close the doors of the winery and stop taking fruit in because the place was full and we had nowhere to put anything else. So, it was very hectic. A bit of the opposite this year because yields were down and it was a cool year and everything was nice and calm and we're sort of looking around like, well, are there any more grapes that we can grow?
Which was a bit of a blessing, really, because with the shutdowns, because at one point, which I mentioned in my post this week, one point we thought we were going to have to shut down, which again would have been a massive hit for us, not only us but the grape growers. This happens. This harvest happens once a year. So once it's gone, once the opportunity in the window's gone, that's it. That's a year's worth of grapes, a year's worth of wine, a year's worth of income gone. And I think at one point, we were fortunate, but I think at one point in the South African wine industry,
they for a couple of days they were actually forced to shut down. I think some of the New Zealand wineries they really got some social distancing going on. People turn up in like face masks and wearing like almost like the biohazard suits and they're
keeping super safe.
Yeah, so they've been forced into a lot of measures. So we
have been lucky. I mean, I
look,
kids at home. I couldn't.
We're out.
What I normally do.
We're in a sort of a country area. The only people that are at the winery are the people that sort of work there, and we practice our social distancing there, and we sort of keep safe because we are a little bit isolated to start with. So it was fortunate for us. Yeah.
But it was a bit of a worry. But so I guess, lower yields. It'll be, lower yields, lower production this year. There won't be a lot of fruit from 2020. But I'd say some of the fruit that's come in is, it's looking okay. It's looking all right. Considering everything that nature's thrown at us this year, I think, it's going to be okay.
Yeah, it's a solid year. I think the standout wines from this vintage in 2020 are probably the Chardonnays. Chardonnay's like a weed, it grows everywhere. You make all right wines wherever you are, and you can't go wrong. So it's a very sturdy variety, and it makes pretty good wines, regardless of the whatever the season throws at it. So it's a
pretty bad vintage.
Yeah,
to get that Charlie.
Pretty
Pinot
much.
will be Pinot, like I was saying before. Pinot's precious and it's delicate and it's it's super tricky anyway. So like Adrian was saying, 2019 was a good year, really good year. So UK guys, grab it. Australia guys, you can't because I think it's
enjoy it. Yeah.
Enjoy it. All right, so I'm just going to have a little bit more time.
Once again, you get some lovely red fruit flavors from there. The oak plays a supporting role.
It's really delicate. It's lovely. Super subtle.
At the same time, it's very complex though, and there's lots of layers of different flavors and things going on. There's a lovely lingering, flavor as well. So once again, probably our best vintage.
How does it? What about comparing this to 2020? What can angels expect? What's different?
It'd be very, very, very different. So, like almost polar opposite. So, vintage 19, you've got the lovely dark color, and the wines are quite full-bodied. They've got.
I'll do it this way. It's back to front. I keep doing it the wrong way. Sorry.
Yeah. So they're quite full-bodied, got lots of flavor. 2020 being a very cold and challenging year, there's a lot less color. The wines are a bit more delicate and lighter. I'd say they don't have the amount of complexity that the 19 or some of the previous vintages have. Like they're going to be a little bit more simple. Having said that, they're not going to be bad or anything. They're very, very solid wines. They're, I think my overall comment for vintage 20 is solid without being spectacular. And
it's no 19, but it's going to be there. It's going to be a little bit lighter.
So that's just to prove I'm not French. I'm not going to call everything vintage of the century. So it's vintage 20 it's good, but without being it's not vintage of the century.
No, 19 vintage of the century.
Look, we were very lucky in the Yarrow. Like 17 was probably the most perfect vintage, that I've seen for Pinot Noir and Chardonnay. 18 was pretty good too, and probably helped with a little bit of extra warmth. It probably helped out the Shiraz and Cabernet a bit more. So we've had some pretty damn good vintages. We've been pretty lucky that there's only been, there's probably 2011, maybe 14 and 20 that have been the tougher ones, but everything in between.
We have been pretty lucky because we went out on our own in 2012. We have worked with other wineries prior to that, but 2012 we joined Naked Wines, went out on our own, and since 2012, 2012 was a cracker year.
Look, every year was pretty good. 14 was lower yields and a bit cool and a little bit wet, but
not
it wasn't
the century.
It wasn't it wasn't too bad. Still got some lovely delicate wines.
Yeah.
So
15 was
for all those years, like even though I try and tend to forget about 16, it didn't make bad wine. So Mother Nature's been. Even though she's thrown a few spanners in the works. Well, she
kind of saved it all for 2020, I think. Like she kind of just...
Mother Nature's been pretty kind to us and just, test us out every now and then.
I guess, if you're going to go through it, let's just get it all over and done with in one vintage. Like throw it to us in one vintage and we'll deal with it and we'll get through it. So hopefully 2021 is going to be...
You usually get it after a bad year, you usually get a pretty good one. So that's what we'll stick with that.
When you have a good year, okay, so explain this. When you have a good year, when does it start? Like when can you say, right?
Oh, it's
right.
No, you can't say until you pick the grapes. You can't say it's been a good year because
anything could happen.
The whole process from as soon as the vines start shooting, in August, September. As soon as the new shoots sort of come out, from that point on, you need sort of the perfect growing conditions all the way to pretty much to the day that you pick those grapes. So,
what are the growing conditions? You want rain in spring. Well, Yarra does get a lot of rain.
If you have that sort of a bit of early season rainfall that fills everyone's dams up, it keeps the ground nice and moist, and then that allows the vines to soak up that water and grow. And then you want sort of the cool sort of a dry period around flowering. That gives you a good fruit set. And then you probably don't want, you want warm weather, but not overly warm, just a nice sort of cool, even ripening period. But there's going to be rain here and there. There's going to be the hot days. There's going to be the cool days.
If you look at the tennis, there's always hot days through Jan and Feb.
But as long as there's nothing too extreme, the vines sort of handle that, and it's but it is when you're in agriculture, it's certainly you're at
the mercy of Mother
You're at the mercy of Mother Nature. So you do what you can, and you do what is in your control, and the rest is don't worry about it. No point trying to staying up at night and worrying about it, because you'll get a lot of grey hairs. So you may as well just go, I've done my job, let's forget about it, and I'll wake up tomorrow and deal with whatever I have to deal with.
So, all right, should we move on to the Carmenere?
Yeah, rightio.
Yeah, rightio. Why not? I just want to, you know what? I'm going to save that for later. I'm just going to get a new glass because it's too good. So this is our Carmenere. So 2018 Carmenere. Yeah, that one there, cool. Yes. This is it here for those of you who have not seen this label. So as I was saying before, A&R is sort of our second tier, our second level, and it's, like I say, it was where we get a little bit experimental with perhaps the varieties we use, or the blends that we, the varieties we blend together, or perhaps even up and coming, or unknown regions. So this Carmenere, 2018 was our second vintage. We made one for the first time in 2017, and it comes from Heathcote, from a single vineyard in Heathcote. Adrian, do you want to talk them through?
Yeah, so it's a really interesting variety. It used to be grown in the Bordeaux region of France, part of those wines, along with the sort of the Cabernet Merlot, Petit Verdot, Malbec, Cabernet Franc varieties that used to be thrown in a blend with those many years ago. And then it slowly sort of fell out of favour there to the point where then there may not have been much planted at all. But I think at some stage in Chile, they wanted to plant some Merlot. And when they did plant it, it happened to be this vine. There was some sort of error, and they ended up planting a hell of a lot of it in Chile. So that's basically become their national grape variety. They've got more of it than anywhere else in the world.
Yeah. In Australia, not so much. There's only a handful of vineyards.
There's probably only 2 or 3 that I know of. There's maybe 5 all up, let's say.
Yeah, that actually grow.
So it's not a very well-known variety, certainly in Australia, but it's very distinct. And as soon as you put your nose to the glass, you will recognise it, because it has a very distinct aroma.
It's like nothing you've ever tried or smelt before in Australia.
It's a very there is something similar to Cabernet about it, but really,
I guess generally speaking, it's sort of Cabernet on the nose and a little bit Merlot on the palate. But for me, as soon as I smell this wine,
it's such an intense sort of herbal and sort of almost capsicum.
Green capsicum. I mean, that's what I get, particularly in the 17. The 18 is not as pronounced. The capsicum is not as pronounced, but it's there. But the capsicum and the cocoa and the it's really quite warm and strong, distinctive, like you said.
Yeah. And on the palate, there's it doesn't really taste like what you smell. Like it has a little bit more red fruit character about it. It still has those. It's still kind of like a Cabernet type wine, but it sort of surprises you with its palate of sort of red fruit. And this one, being from Heathcote, you get that lovely sort of richness from it, and it's once again quite a full-bodied wine without overdoing it.
It's still quite soft on the palate. Like it's big on the nose and it's really distinctive, and you try it on the palate and it's kind of not what you expect after you smell it. It's still quite soft and rounded. And this one here, look, it's 18. It's still super, super young. So this evolves quite a lot in the glass, throughout the night, over the 1 or 2, 3 glasses of bottle that you have may have throughout the night. And yeah, it definitely changes from when you first open it to towards the end of the glass, because it's still super, super young. So it's got a little bit of aging, I think, potential there. But this 2018 will be the last Carmenere we make. Well, we did make one from 19. Haven't made one from 20.
It's only for a while. Just logistically tough for us to get those grapes and get them to the winery and when we want to and that sort of stuff. So it was unfortunately something that I did enjoy doing, but
something a little bit different. It's always, I guess, as a winemaker, always interesting to just mix things up a little bit, which is why we get super excited with our A&R range, because we kind of get to just experiment and have a bit of fun.
But with the rest of the sort of workload, it was just getting a bit tough for us to include that one in our portfolio. Yeah.
So Carmenere, in terms of growing, like it likes a warmer region, so which is hence why this particular fruit that we've sourced is from Heathcote.
To tell you the truth, other than what I've already said, I don't know too much about the whole viticulture part of this great vine, because I've never had to work with it in the vineyard. Obviously, I've purchased these grapes and from another, but there's a grower that was managing the vineyard, and it's and it does make some lovely wines, which I do enjoy, and I guess I've been fortunate enough to know and taste quite a few wines, because they are quite popular in the UK, and Naked Wines in the UK actually stock quite a lot of Chilean Carmenere or Carmenere blends. And
I'm saying that this is something that we have only released.
Yeah, this is only Australia.
Sorry, UK Angels, we won't be sending this one over.
But it's a really interesting variety, and I quite like it. I know a lot of people don't like those Cabernet sort of wines.
I think it's really distinctive. But I think you try it, and it's just so different to anything that sort of Australia does. I think a lot of people taste and go, "Whoa, what the hell?" Or they taste and go, "Wow, that's different, amazing, incredible."
Yeah,
so
I think
it can be quite polarizing.
If you're a person that enjoys Cabernet, you're gonna love that. Probably enjoy this wine. If you enjoy Merlot as well, I think it's one of those sort of type of wines. But it's certainly up to the individual. And
it is, and I think there's still some more. I think the saying has sold out, but I think the 18 is still available on the Naked Wine site. So if you are interested in trying it, it'd be a really good wine to take to like a wine auctions or something, where you got to try and hide it and everyone has to guess what the wine is. That one would be fantastic, because
I think it'll probably stump a lot of people. And the wine is lovely and soft, and I guess the reason for something that even though it is a wine that has quite a lot of obvious characteristics, it spends with Pinot and Chardonnay. We leave that in barrel for about 9 or 10 months, and that is enough maturation time to let the wine soften out, and the tannins are soft, or the phenolics become manageable, and the flavors of the wine are at their sort of their peak. With Carmenere, it needs a little bit longer, so it stays in oak, or it matures in oak, and then for about 18 months, and then maybe in tank for another 6 months after that. So that's why this one's only just been hence why recently. This is the 18 and only sort of recently released. So it does require a lot more maturation time on our part. Hopefully we've done the job, so you can open that bottle and drink it right away. Although I do always recommend with any of our reds, and I always say this when I'm posting on the site, is when you open it, feel free to have a taste. It's really interesting to taste it as soon as you open it, but it'll be closed. It won't be looking its best. Give it at least half an hour. I think with this Carmenere, I find that after an hour, at least an hour, it really starts to soften and open up and just show you what's all those little interesting characters it's got hiding away. And it's not just because I think when you open that initially,
you just get whacked in the face with green capsicum, and that can be a little bit off-putting. But if you can just put it away for an hour or so and just let it soften, let the oxygen kind of get in there and kind of work its magic, an hour or so later, it starts to open up and just starts to show you, I think, a lot more of what it's got, and the potential that's hiding away there. So I definitely recommend, if you haven't tried it, get on the Naked Wine site and grab it. It's just a really interesting wine to try, and whether you like it or you don't, it's really interesting style to sort of say, well, yeah, you want to try the Carmenere, and yeah, I liked it, or I didn't, but whatever. Because there's not a lot available in Australia. There's not a lot of fruit grown, and also therefore not a lot of this variety produced singularly in a single variety wine. Anyway, so yeah. There you have it.
All right, well, before we start telling jokes now or something.
Well, I talk about the winemaking there. And I'm going to go get something else for us to talk about.
Yeah, right, okay.
A little bit of something.
So with the winemaking from this actually gets machine harvested. It comes in on, actually the harvester has like a destemmer inbuilt onto it, so it's called a selective harvester, and it actually comes in quite clean to the winery, to the point where we don't need to really destem it, and so you still retain some of those lovely whole berries, and it's kind of important with this one to get a little bit of oak into it, and that sort of hides some of the overt green characters. So you have this lovely amount of oak in there, which you may not see, but it's actually in there, and it's being a nice part of that wine. With this, it gets treated a little bit more harder than the Pinot does. So it's a few extra plungings, a little bit extra time on skins, and obviously the more maturation time. It's got a little bit more tannin, but once again, I really think it's a soft wine.
It is quite soft,
and it's sort of a testament to the viticulture, that they've grown some good quality grapes, and the winemaking, it's been pretty good, and yeah.
Well done us.
Yeah.
But yeah, look, like we said, if you're interested, I definitely recommend it. At least give it a go. It's a really quite different wine style to anything I think a lot of Australians have had, or anything that's really produced in Australia. Now I've got a couple of other little things here that I thought we could talk about. One of them, now I don't have our current release. I think it's going to be really interesting to talk about, because I'm always talking about this on the site. It's always something that I'm asked, or I have to sort of bring up or explain on the site. But I have here, this is our 2017, so not our current release. I don't have our current release here at the moment. Our 2017 Pinot Grigio, boy meets girl Pinot Grigio. So, hands up, I think a lot of you out there are familiar with this wine. Like I said, this is a previous vintage. I don't have the current vintage. So Pinot Grigio is really interesting because I always get asked about the colour all the time. So our Pinot Grigio has a blush colour.
Maybe pour some.
I'll pour some, yes. That's a great idea. How about you pour some?
Yeah.
While I'm talking. So our Pinot Grigio has a blush colour. We do this, A, because I think it looks really pretty. But B, we do it because we like the texture and the flavors that the color brings, and the color's there because Pinot Grigio grapes are actually a reddish color, reddish gray color. What we do is we leave the juice on the skins for a short amount of time during that winemaking process to extract some of that color. And what that process does is sort of brings a textural, almost slightly savory element to the wine.
You also get a lot more, aromatics and flavour. So a lot of people,
a lot more complexity.
A lot of people sort of
So that's if you can see it.
I think that Pinot Grigio doesn't have a lot of flavour or aroma or texture.
It can be quite bland. It can be quite, but obviously pale. Most Pinot Grigios are very clear.
Yeah, but by leaving it in contact with its skins in the press for it's only something like 12 hours. You do get a lot more complexity, a lot more flavour, a lot more aromatics, a lot more texture, and it makes it a more complete wine and probably a wine that once again shows the true aspects of that variety.
Yeah.
You're not trying to make it something that it's not, or you're not trying to fix it up at the end.
You're just trying to bring it out and showcase its potential, I think. And that's what we've always done since we started with Naked Wines. We have always, since in 2012, from day dot, we've always done this process because we believe it just makes a more interesting wine. However, because it's not the normal style of Pinot Grigio out there in this,
we do get a lot of questions.
We get a lot of questions about it, so I thought that would be interesting for us to bring up.
Just to clarify, the Pinot Grigio grape actually has colour. It almost looks like a red wine grape variety. Just that it doesn't have that much. It doesn't have enough pigmentation to make a full-bodied, deep-coloured red wine, but it certainly has colour to it. And if you sort of treat it kind of somewhere in between a white and a red, almost rosé like, that's what it actually looks like. And
so this wine is actually available in Australia and the UK. We do get a lot of questions, understandably, because most Pinot Grigios on the market are that clear colour. They're almost Sauvignon Blanc-like in appearance and in some in taste. Ours is super different, and that's what we love about Naked Wines, is that we can make these wines, these style wines, these interesting different styles, and introduce you guys to new and interesting ways of doing things. And hopefully you'll enjoy it. And if you don't, that's fine. And if you do, fantastic. But, this is, again, just a little bit of us in that glass, because this is how we like drinking it. This is the style of Pinot Grigio that we enjoy drinking, we enjoy making. And I think just showcases the variety to its full extent, I think.
Yeah, I think so. It shows you what it's capable of, and it's certainly not boring. And that's what Pinot Grigio can be accused of sometimes being a little bit boring, and then this one's certainly not in terms of flavour.
Yeah. The other little thing I thought we'd quickly talk about before our time's up here, and we can all go and enjoy all the wines. Hopefully the Lennox Girl, Santonlin wines that you're enjoying tonight. Happy hour. For those of you who may not know, we also, I can't get this right. Back to front. We also make a cider. Hang on, let me just, Adrian, while I'm showing, do you want to talk about that one? So this we started making last year. Was the first year? No.
No, it was last
December.
It was December 18 was the first. December 18, yeah. That was the first one that we made.
Yeah, that's right. I'll stop moving it so you can actually have a look at it.
And look, we actually make our apple cider very much in the same way we make our wine. So, we work closely with a local orchard. They actually dejuice the grapes for us. The apples for us. We grab the juice, ferment it. I actually use a couple of different types of yeasts in this one, and that's to give it let the lovely sort of aromatics shine. And I use two different yeasts also because they do give you that little bit of complexity as they're a little bit different. And we
with a grape, so we use very specific apples for this because we want to get a specific flavor.
There's a blend of Pink Lady and Granny Smith apples in that.
Majority is Pink Lady because Pink Lady apples have that beautiful sort of sweetness, natural sweetness to them, but the Granny Smiths bring a lovely sort of
bit of acidity, a little bit of tannin as well, which you don't notice in the final cider, but it's sort of there for structure, and it gives you a bit of palate length, and
otherwise, if it was just Pink Lady, it could be a little bit fluffy and raw on the palate.
It's one dimensional. So we've sort of worked out a little blend of apples that we use. We put it in a sparkling bottle because we are making it like a wine, and
plus it's super low alcohol, so it's like 5.5.
Yeah, so
you know, you can have a couple extra glasses.
So you either, I was going to say you can drink it with friends, but Rebecca's sort of saying that you can have it all on your own.
But responsibly, people, responsibly.
Yeah.
Not all in one sitting, people. Not all in one sitting. Maybe in two separate sittings.
Yeah, but we're due to make another one soon as well. Like, there's one on the side.
There is one on the side. I think it's pretty close to being sold out.
Yeah.
Because we launched that in December, maybe.
Yeah, we sort of do two batches of that a year. One
sort of in winter and one summer.
Yeah. So we're almost at that point where we're going to start making the next one, and it won't be ready for some time. But
so the style of that is it's quite delicate. It's not overly sweet. It's certainly not that, recording, cloying.
No, it's going to be drier than most.
It's going to be drier than most commercial styles. Yeah.
Ciders. There is enough. There is that little bit of sweetness there to keep it in balance. There's some lovely apple flavour. It's you treat it like a sparkling wine, kind of. It's easy drinking. It's maybe an aperitif. It's
quite delicate. Yeah.
It's quite delicious, and a lot of people that haven't enjoyed cider sort of come and tell us that they do enjoy that one.
Well, I know when we did the tour last year and we were in Queensland, I don't think a lot of the angels who came to that tasting had tried or knew that we had a cider. And obviously, because it's a bit warmer up there, the sales for that up there just skyrocketed. Because it's on a hot summer's day, it's quite light, it's quite refreshing, it's low alcohol, so doesn't sort of hit you straight away. And yeah, really good for those kind of climates, I guess.
Yeah.
Or anytime, really. Happy hour on a Friday after a week of homeschooling. It's great. Look at the spot nicely.
Rebecca's had enough of homeschooling. She's had
This was my first full week. Last week.
It's everyone's first full week, isn't it?
Well, no, yeah, you're right. It was everyone's first full, but this is only my experience here. Last week was half a week, so that just shocked me completely. This week we kind of got into a rhythm, but yeah, come Friday. And this is our classroom. My study has turned into a bit of a classroom. And yeah, I don't kind of think I've been pushed out, but yes, it's definitely time for a few wines tonight, I think, because holy moly, my sister's a teacher, so I always respected teachers, but I have a whole newfound respect for teachers after this week. It's a tough gig. So yeah, I can see why, wine might help. It's certainly going to help me tonight relax a little bit. So look, I think that's sort of us done for the happy hour. I mean, unless you've got any questions, I'm happy to just sit here and we can have a bit of a chat about random life, world events, and have a bit of a chat while we wait for the questions to pop up. But otherwise, thanks for listening. Thanks for sitting with us for this full hour and listen to us chatter on. I've got to say, he did most of the talking, right? Everyone thought it was going to be me doing this chatterbox, but you were the one.
I just spoke about the wines.
Well, that's true, but he did most of the talking. So I'm, winning. So he can talk when he wants to, people.
I think when I have to. Keyword.
You have to. Well, anyways, thank you all. We just want to look. I think again, thank you for your support. This year. For the past 8 years, it's been amazing. And look, we wouldn't be where we are. We've got small kids and a small family. We are literally a very small family-owned, family-run business. And we appreciate that all of you, particularly now are going through tough times and things are really hard for everybody. So, again, I don't want to kind of make this all about us, but just from our perspective, we are, incredibly appreciative for, you guys being there. You've got our backs, you're buying our wines, and by the looks of the posts, you're enjoying them, so that's good. But yeah, keep the posts coming if you have questions, or if you just want to chat or anything. The posts are kind of help keeping me a little bit sane at the moment. That adult interaction is lovely, so yeah, feel free. I mean, I have adult interaction. He's just at the winery, so it's nice. So please, keep them coming. It's lovely to chat to you all. And it's really lovely. It is such, on a personal level, so lovely to hear, your experiences with our wine. And like I said, we just kind of do what we love and make what we love. And it's really lovely to hear that you guys are enjoying it too. Yep.
Yeah, I agree. What she said.
Well done.
Yeah.
All right. Well, cheers to everybody. Have a wonderful night. Thank you for joining us with the Santonlin Happy Hour. And we'll chat to you on the Naked Wine side.
Thank you very much. It was it's a bit of a unique experience for us as doing this. First Facebook Live chat, and I've had to do a couple of Zoom meetings this week, which I'm sick of talking into a computer to tell you the truth. Like, I hate talking at the best of times. So
I mean, we know you're out there, but it's still really like it's just really a whole new different experience. So, and I feel like there's going to be a lot more of these moving forward. So we're just going to have to.
But this is socializing. We're still socializing. We're doing well.
All right, guys, take care. Cheers. Enjoy your weekend. Anzac Day tomorrow. We'll be making cookies and things. So enjoy. Bye.
Cheers. Bye.
Not sure what to do here. I'll just click this big red button and